weeks ago, we put out the poll, which Avatar character do you think is the most underrated?
Where is Ty Lee?
Exactly. Thank you.
Where's Ty Lee? What is this?
She is the most underrated.
Who's underrating Ty Lee?
A lot of people are underrating Ty Lee. Most people, no one really talks about Ty Lee.
It's because of her bubbly, demeanor, and people think she's so girly, but they really underrate, her knowledge of the human body and how she can disable you in, 2 punches.
People just think because she's hot and she's bubbly and boys like her that she's stupid. But, she single-handedly took down all of Team Avatar just by punching them with her small hands. Come on.
Why do they have to be small hands?
Small hands.
So again, based on all of that, who is really underrating Ty Lee?
I'll say this, she was not underrated enough to make the 5 choices we put in this poll, so maybe that is a good answer for
I'll let that ride.
Great.
I'll let that ride.
So
Yes,
let me see here.
There we go.
Let's take a look at this question. We have, which character in Avatar do you think is the most underrated? Our options are Suki, Piandao, Ursa, Mai, and Bashir, the ex-Yuan archer and current rough rhino. If you remember that deep cut,
Oh my god.
basically killed Jet's parents, a lot of other sort of dubious deeds with him. So let's just predictions on how you think the fandom voted. What is the answer on this question?
I'm going between Suki or May.
Yeah, I think I gotta go between Suki or May as well. I think our girl Suki just really did not get enough love.
Right.
And I think it's understated because very similar to Sokka, she was out there with her fans, giving us some Katana Mortal Kombat realness on the battlefield, but people weren't really embracing it as much, and we don't even see or know much of what's going on with Suki when we jump into The Legend of Korra, but she was bad, she was out there, her and her Kyoshi warrior girls, they were serving for the gods, so I just feel like she has to be the underrated queen.
People love Suki, though. I feel like Suki's had a second life. Also, I'm confused why she's on that list. That doesn't make any sense to me either, because I think she's I think the creators did her dirty. The writers do her dirty. The fans love her.
I think, out of the gang, she's the most overlooked. She's, the last character in the gang that everybody's like, oh, yeah, Suki. Right, she's great. So I feel like that's why she could be, underrated, but, she is completely, she's a queen. She could just take you down. She doesn't need bending. And she's just such a smart girl. But I think everybody underestimates May as well because it is kind of, glazed over, but, she has the precision to cut and kill. And I think that is very overlooked.
With her words and her weapons.
Exactly.
Please tell me you're here to kill me.
It's great to see you, May.
Can we just talk about Ursa?
Yeah.
Ursa for a hot second? This poor woman. Her life is terrible. Okay, she's basically, and this is in the comics, she's engaged to the man she loves. Ozai, who hasn't talked to a woman in his 30 years of living, is I'm gonna take this one because I want my children to be related to the Avatar. And then she's forced into this marriage, does everything she can to protect her children, and then still just gets done dirty. It's so sad.
It's a good point in what underrated means, because there's so many things you could be underrated for, whether your fighting ability, what you did for another character, what you had to suffer, and you are not rated appropriately. So let me just share the results of this poll here. Suki, 61%.
Woo! I gotta say, I'm glad to see that at 61%, particularly because Suki really was the catalyst for Sokka's transformation. And I think because of that, we see her sort of as this supportive character who is there for Sokka's character development and character growth without really taking as much time to see her own growth, her own strength, and her own abilities. And that's why, for me, I really think people kind of connect more with that idea of Suki being underrated, because in the spectrum of Team Avatar and of all these people we know and love, she's sidelined in many ways that the others are not, and she's used many times as a plot device for these other characters, despite her not being a damsel in distress or constantly needing saving. She was put in those positions, but she still was able to rally. So,
in addition to not only did Suki kick off Sokka's warrior training, but for Suki, Appa would not have made it back to Ba Sing Se to be able to get to Aang in the first place.
Yeah,
because
it's a good point.
And just like you were talking about how she's the one who's mainly been sidelined, to be a plot device. It kind of sort of goes more towards what her character is as a Kyoshi warrior, because they're there to help the people to be able to get the best of what they can to become the best of who they are.
obviously we talk about Zuko's arc and everything, and like how Zuko's arc is literally perfection, but I think we fail to realize Sokka's arc and like how Sokka started off as like the sexist, misogynist. I mean, yeah. So, and then Suki is literally the catalyst for him realizing the power of women. I mean, his sister really couldn't, because I mean, he thinks of Katara as just his little sister, and he thinks of him as a protector of the Southern Water Tribe, and he carries that role with him, thinking that men are like the elite or whatever. But I feel like Suki really challenges Sokka and his personal development and his arc throughout the show to realize that women are just as, you know, capable as men are, and that really changes Sokka's worldview.
I think Suki was too nice to Sokka in the beginning. If a man ever said half the things that he said, I think she should have beat him up a little harder.
Spit it out. What do you want?
I would be honored if you would teach me.
Even if I'm a girl?
I'm sorry if I insulted you earlier. I was wrong.
We normally don't teach outsiders, let alone boys.
Please make an exception. I won't let you down.
All right. But you have to follow all of our traditions.
Of course.
And I mean all of them.
Do I really have to wear this? It feels a little girly.
I want to hear about the Boiling Rock here, but I want to point out with this poll, one thing that's interesting, 243,000 votes.
Oh my god.
That's a ton of
That's
people.
insane.
I mean, it really, I think we, you know, at Nickelodeon love
I feel
seeing these
validated.
polls because there's so many people engaging in them, so it really feels like a good sort of pocket of the fandom and a reflection of maybe the true opinions. I'll point out that May's in second place with 16%, but a huge disparity between first and second place. But Aaron, you were mentioning the Boiling Rock. How did Suki sort of become appropriately rated at the Boiling Rock, I guess?
I mean, I just feel like it was the final culmination of like, oh wait, she is this like kick butt character in that sense. I mean, she survived like arguably like a concentration camp in the middle of a boiling lake, surrounded by crazy people. And she still managed to keep her head and to think and to like keep herself strong and motivated and going, and like that's just so cool. Like even like there's a scene like when she's climbing up the wall and Zuko's just like, what? Like, and he's a ninja himself, so he's just like, that's it, okay.
And the other thing about Suki that I love, which is also kind of a thing about the whole Avatar universe, about the beauty of feminism and the beauty of femininity and how it is not as black and white as we want to make it seem. Because every single female character that we see is a different degree of what society would deem to be feminine or whatever else it may be, and yet is a boss in their own right for everything. And the thing I love about Suki is that Suki keeps both those two things of what it is for her to be feminine, like her actual feminine nature, because she's very soft, she's caring, she's bubbly, she's very, very charismatic, but she's strong. And then she's got hands for days. On site. On site.
In that world, you have to have hands for days. If you don't have hands for days, you're dead.
We can take them 3 on 3.
Actually, Toph, there's 4 of us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't count you. You know, no bending and all. I can still fight! Okay, 3 on 3 plus Sokka.
All right, so let's talk about another question that we polled our YouTube audience for. And this question talks about bending styles. And so our question is, what is the most overrated bending style? Combustion bending, blood bending, flight, metal bending, or lightning bending?
I didn't even think people rated combustion bending. I just, like, it's only 2 people can do it. Like, it's explosions, but you can't do anything else with it. You just level a whole city block.
Yeah.
That's
kind of a lot, though.
One nefarious purpose.
I just think lightning bending just because it takes some time to generate, and like, honestly, you have to hit the right point for it to work. I mean, and somebody could really just mess you up when you're just even trying to generate lightning, and then it's just like, oh wait, I gotta hit the target. Like, it's just too much time.
Metal bending's the most overrated in my personal opinion. That's a hill I would die on.
I don't know.
Have you seen Kuvira fight? Have you seen her take over single-handedly the entire Earth Kingdom because she's that good at metal bending?
I am not saying that metal bending is not good, and I am not saying that it is not a boss style.
Why do you think it's overrated? Let's start there.
When it popped up at the end of book 2, I'm like, ooh, okay, I see where this is going. Everything was fine. We saw it going on the airship. We're good to go. And I definitely see how in Korra it's definitely made modernization a lot easier. But just the way, I guess just like the way the fandom hypes up metal bending as being like God's gift to the bending universe is like, It's just another subset of the earthbending that is cool, but it's not any more significant than anything else we've seen that's with the earthbending. It's just an adaptation on the adaptability that is earthbending. But
I guess that gets to the question that Kyle was kind of framing when we were talking about this. I guess what are we thinking like is overrated when we talk about like a bending style? Because I definitely hear exactly what you're saying there. Like I also really love the X-Men. So metal bending is like everyone's Magneto. Great, let's roll. I think that's awesome. But I think what you were just saying right there, you're right. Metal bending is so ubiquitous, particularly when you talk about the Legend of Korra, that it's like, is it overrated because it's overexposed, or is it overrated because it's really not even that impressive?
It's an interesting sort of opinion to settle on here, because I want to now show you the results of this poll.
I swear, if it's bloodbending, we're gonna have a fight, fandom. Oh, okay, so we're gonna have a fight, fandom.
That's rough, buddy.
Let me give a little context here. So 243,000 votes. Once again, we have a ton of interest and engagement in this poll.
Yeah.
But with 50% of the vote, bloodbending is ranked the most overrated bending style. So Dominique, you seem to have some thoughts. What is your reaction to this poll right here?
So 121,000 of you are wrong, in my opinion. Because whatever the half of 243 is, I'm on the other side of it. Bloodbending, it deserves its clout just because it is that bad. It is literally like, so we think of the most powerful entity in the Avatar universe is the Avatar. One of the reasons why he's so powerful, not only solely just because he can bend all 4 elements, but the Avatar has the power to restore bending or to take it away. The next thing in line that can take bending away, that in my opinion is the most powerful, is a waterbender who has the ability to bloodbend. We saw it with Amon. He could take your bending away. Is that not powerful? Is that not the most powerful?
There's no good that comes out of it, though. Like, it's not an art form, it's a weapon. And I think that's what it is.
Oh, but I mean,
because it's just about control. Again, wouldn't call it overrated. I would just call it like, I'm gonna put that in like the dark corners of the web.
So
like, we're just not gonna touch it until we have to.
Are you solely calling it a weapon just because of what we've seen it used as? Because the same argument can then be made about any other bending style and any other subset and everything else.
No, yeah, but I mean, but there's something much more intimate. Yes, I can shoot lightning at you. I can stab you with metal.
But to go inside your body,
time out.
And taking over your body. Let me finish.
You do that whole statement of, I could just shoot lightning at you like it was nothing, as if that wasn't like the single most emotional moment of the end of book 2. Sis, what are you doing?
But you're not going inside someone's body and controlling how they move. Do you understand the PTSD of that? Do you understand how different that is than just hitting someone with something?
Just because we've seen in the Avatar universe that it's only been used darkly doesn't mean that there isn't a good side. This is the whole premise to the show. Yin and yang, good and bad. There's good in everything, there's bad in everything. Just because we don't see bloodbending being used as like a healing art doesn't mean it can't be.
Phil, what's your take here? Yeah.
I completely agree with you. When you made your first statement earlier, Dominic, that is exactly where I was going to go to it. I really do understand why so many people would pick bloodbending because of what you were referring to earlier. But then that's that flip side that you were just talking about that I think is a really fascinating and interesting thing about it, that waterbenders are able to use water to heal, and then like an evolution or higher form of that is connected to bloodbending. But then let's also not forget another higher form of waterbending is spirit bending. And there's this really just interesting, given some of the East Asian influences in the show, where you kind of think about like the spirit, the blood, water being a source of life, how all of those are just connected and how all of those are involved in some kind of way. I'm just like, I think you are absolutely 100% right that bloodbending and waterbending really present a lot of like really fascinating opportunities. And I think that's probably why a lot of fans would consider it to be overrated, because it really just kind of feels like the power level cap, you know, it's the ceiling. Its power level's over 9,000. It's just like, it never stops.
What's bloodbending?
The most powerful and feared form of bending in the world. It was declared illegal thanks to that coward Katara. Our family has the strongest line of bloodbenders in history. You boys have this power inside of you, and I will teach you to master it.
This segment of the show we call Sozin's Comment, which is where we take one of the best comments on our YouTube videos over the course of the week, and we're going to talk about it here, and it actually is very relevant to our discussion now. Let's let's read this comment from Isaac Aaron, and basically it's talking about bloodbending. Bloodbending is massively overrated. People assume that it's always Yukon level bloodbending. It's not. The average waterbender probably can't bloodbend. You have to be very powerful bender first off, then there needs to be a full moon, and then you need total concentration. And even then, you can only move somebody's body in a clumsy fashion, not make them say or do anything you want. It's a pretty narrow scope when you get to use it. So, Demarius, I see you're ready for this one. What do you got?
The same thing was said about lightning bending because it was particularized to the royal family, and so far we only knew it was just Ozai, Iroh, and Azula. That was it. We get to Korra, and everybody's rocking with it. Metal bending was completely impossible but for the hands of a blind earthbender who was then able to train other people to be able to see the bits of the earth, and now metal bending is literally running Republic City and the rest of the Earth Kingdom, and the Earth Kingdom is going to be on the come up. In terms of flight, the only person that we knew of was Guru Lahima because he let go of everything, and he was never spent like life on the ground from that point forward. Zahir, same deal. So it's kind of those things where it's like once one person figures out the base mechanics in the most ideal of situations, whether that's being blind in a metal box or that is being completely untethered from the earth, or you're figuring out your own energy, or on a full moon in a prison with no other kind of water trying to figure your own life out, then at that point you can kind of just start transferring the rest of that skill, and it kind of just develops as the rest of the bending skill does.
Exactly.
You know what though? I'm not gonna die on this hill that I'm saying bloodbending is like the most overrated, because I've never thought this much about bloodbending in my entire life. It was in those few episodes, and I was like, okay, great. I just it just doesn't do it for me. Is that weird to say? As something like
no,
there's other things that just do it
that's
more.
literally what we're doing, Aaron. You're 100% right. Please, what is your opinion? Doesn't do it for you. Excellent.
Oh no, another fan with ideas. Just hear me out.
All right, well, I want to pivot to something real quick that is off of the polls, because I know we could probably talk bending styles all day, and that's maybe another show. We'll talk that. I just want to see if anyone has anything to offer on, I think, underrated episodes.
The Great Divide.
Okay, well, that's
how dare you?
We're not even entertaining it.
Let's skip it.
Don't entertain that.
We're not
okay,
gonna
what was the question, Kyle? What was
I am upset. I'm upset.
Don't worry,
Okay,
I'm not upset.
Damaris, why is the Great Divide an underrated episode?
Here's why. Because it is the first moment that we see Aang having to deal with the actual purposes of conflict resolution between two people who have completely opposing worldviews to the exact same issue that is at hand. Because we got the Shangs and we got the Ganjins. They're both sets of refugees. This is the first time we're here. This is like the first or second time we're hearing about Ba Sing Se and the refugees and everything else getting set up and having to head to Ba Sing Se for safety and getting new lifestyle, which is what the whole purpose is of Book 2. We get a little bit going on like with some kind of lore about the whole about the power of the great spirits and why the divide is there in the first place. But I really want to focus on what the Canyon guide was saying to Aang when Aang was separated from the two camps. Because Sokka was with the Ganjins and was hearing their side of the story, saying, "Yeah, I'm Team Ganjin." You had Katara, who was over here with the Zhangs. Or I might have had that confused. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ganjins were bougie people. Katara's was
I skipped this episode on every rewatch, so I have no idea. I've seen this episode once.
There it is, guys. The Great Divide. Wow. I could just stare at it forever.
Okay, I've seen enough.
So Sokka and Katara each getting a particularized side of the story without any other kind of context and immediately at conflict. Aang is just looking at the fires like, what am I supposed to do? And the Canyon guide says, it's difficult, isn't it? Being impartial. Which, when you have the role as the Avatar, your goal is impartiality. Which is really the reason, which really goes towards Aang's whole thing of, all life is sacred. I can't kill anything. I have the responsibility of being the balance between the man and spirits. I have the responsibility of bringing peace and harmony to the world. That was the first piece of real advice that Aang had gotten on that same journey, which in my mind had to sit back there at some point. Otherwise, Aang might have considered going ahead and taking out Ozai, but he looked for every single possible reason to make sure that he couldn't do it, thus maintaining himself to be impartial to his own worldviews, his own morals, and his responsibilities towards the Avatar and the respectability of Ozai within any reasonable degree.
So, Damaris, I love your points on the Great Divide. I'm wondering if in every episode of the show we are going to find our way back to talking about the Great Divide. It feels somewhat like an inevitable. It kind of like spiders its way into every conversation. But, Phil, what's your answer to that underrated episode question?
This is one that I always forget about until I'm watching it, and then I'm in a puddle on the floor. and I hope everyone knows where I'm going with this, but the Tales of Ba Sing Se.
Oh,
yep, I knew it.
For where we were in the middle of book 2 when we get that, it does kind of feel a little bit like it could be a bit of a filler, you know, because it's like we're just like seeing what our gang is up to in Ba Sing Se while they're hanging out and they're like going around. And, you know, yes, we know that Momo's vignette actually was like the little like wink wink, like we're progressing the story. This isn't just filler, like be patient with us, y'all. But I just really think that because we use Momo to kind of figure out what goes on with Appa and we have all this other stuff, that just those 7 minutes or so with Uncle Iroh, I just gotta say that's just like one of the most beautiful moments in the entire show to me, because I was a complete and total wreck.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone to say it's overrated because the emotional impact of it is so clear and present and universal, I think. There's no... unless one of you is about to tell me you don't like that episode, but that one, I mean, at least Uncle Iroh's little vignette of that is hard to deny. It's just objectively beautiful.
Happy birthday, my son. If only I could have helped you. Leaves from the vine, falling so slow, like fragile, tiny shells, drifting in the foam. Little soldier boy, come marching home. Brave soldier boy, comes marching home.
You know what I think's an underrated episode is the one with Aunt Wu.
Ooh,
I
love
love
that
that.
one.
Yes.
The fortune teller.
Yes.
I get very differing opinions, or I've seen differing opinions. That episode is just funny. Can your science explain why it rains? Yes, it can. Like, it can.
I know I said I wasn't going to talk much, but now I feel like I want to join this conversation because I think one of my underrated episodes is The Storm, which I know is a loved episode in and of itself, but to me, what's so great about that is you get these parallel storylines of Iroh telling Zuko's story, the sort of the tragedy of the Agni Kai with his dad and having the scar and why he's banished to the men of the ship, right? To the people that Zuko is sort of like acting like their lives don't really matter. It's all about finding the Avatar. And Iroh's telling his story. Zuko's story is always being told for him. And then you get that parallel with Aang, who is telling his own story of finding out he's the Avatar and being an airbender and this being now his destiny and learning that. But he's telling the gang that. So he's in control of his entire destiny. And I just feel like it's such a great like parallel because Zuko doesn't really hit that redemption arc that we talk about until he takes back control of his own story and realizes, I'm going to now tell it. And then Aang realizes this is a part of the story that has to be told for me. I have to kill the Fire Lord. He goes, nope, I'm going to take that back too and find another workaround. And that's
Zuko's story is one of abuse. Like, he's just an abused, neglected child. And, I mean...
Who was always trying to do the right thing, but everybody was pulling him in the wrong direction.
I think he was always trying to prove everyone wrong about him, though.
All right, so this is a segment we are calling Flameo Hot Man, which is where we're going to go around and just share our controversial hot takes about the show. And we would like you to tell us if we're right or wrong in the comments of this video. Aaron, what is your hot take here? You don't want to say it.
All right, look, I get it. Cat Aang is endgame, fine. That kiss didn't need to happen. I'm sorry. Like, listen, I get it. You saved the world, but like, she's 14, you're still 12, and I just think that's weird. I didn't go, oh, I went, ugh. Can't you just have a group hug with everybody at the end? Like, I don't know. Like, he's still a bald baby. He's a baby.
Phil, Flameo Hot Man, what is your hot takeaway here?
I think Zuko's trash.
Get out! Get out of my sight right now if you know what's good for you.
I'm sorry. I know so many people have strong feelings about that. I really think that Zuko is trash. He, I think, is just a horrible person, and I know that he grows, and I know where he ends, and I've read a good chunk of the comics, so I also know what he does afterwards. I'm just like, Zuko, girl, it's called Talkspace. Get some therapy, because, sweetie, you are just ruining lives left and right because you can't get your life together.
That is the hottest take. I love it.
Wow, maybe I should have said my original hot take because it's not nearly as crazy as that.
That was disrespectful.
Young man, as soon as we get home, you're gonna get the punishment of a lifetime.
That's what I like to hear.
I
thinking we're gonna let that one sit and let the
I'm
internet
thrown.
do what it
I'm
does with
thrown.
that one. All right,
Wow,
let's keep
and
moving.
you're gonna
Dominique,
get
what do you got? If
crucified
you
in
can
the
recover from the
comments.
shock.
My hot take is that, you know, the whole show alludes that, like, the Fire Nation knew that Katara was the last waterbender in the Southern Tribe. I don't think they knew that. I think they were looking for Hama, because it all just makes sense. And, like, she escaped a high-level Fire Nation prison, and there was no evidence of struggle, no evidence of anything. It was literally a firebender took the key and opened the door. So it's like, how did she do that? If somebody has this ability to do that, she is very dangerous. And the Fire Nation's probably like, okay, we don't know where she's hiding. Let's go to the source, the Southern Water Tribe. We're looking for the last Southern waterbender of the Southern Water Tribe to basically defeat her, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And when the soldiers came to the Southern Water Tribe, they said, we're not taking any prisoners today. It's because they knew that Hama was way too dangerous to keep alive. So I don't think they were looking for a little baby. And just the Southern Water Tribe was like annihilated by that time. It was a really small village. Do you really think they would let news out about their last waterbender so that the Fire Nation soldiers could come looking for them? No, they were looking for Hama. That's the hot take.
All right, I like that one very much. That is, I'm still thinking about that one, but I want to hear from Demarius here before we call it.
As pertains to Book 2 of Legend of Korra, I actually really like the entire storyline of that entire book. The Legend of Wan was not a retcon whatsoever of the Avatar-based lore that we received in the original franchise series, and that's mainly just from the understanding that we knew that Unalaq's main goal was to try to merge and become the Dark Avatar, was merely just using the Civil War as an undercurrent to forward his own agenda. But as it goes towards how we understand how bending works, we got the whole story of the original benders were the Badger Moles, the Dragons, the Bison, and the Moon, the Ocean working together in consort, which was never retconned whatsoever in Legend of Korra, because who did Wan learn the art of bending from? The dragons. But then we get the stories from the Water Tribe saying that they watch how the moon push and pull the tides and learn how to do it. But where did you get the ability from? You learn about Oma and Shu in Book 2 when they're going through the secret tunnel. Secret tunnel. # love that song. And how they're saying, well, those were the first two Earthbenders, but where did they get the ability from? The fact that the ability had to be established somewhere is the reason why Wan's story and everything else, the Lion Turtles, fits perfectly into the lore. Because you have to have the ability to bend it first before you can understand the style and the art form of it. Book 2, Legend of Korra, was fantastic.
Yes, I agree.
Dominique, Phil, Demarius, Aaron, thank you guys for joining us today, for talking about the show. This was so much fun.
It's a dream.
One thing we do on this show is we end the show with some Uncle Iroh wisdom that you can take with you for the week. Leave from the vine, if you will. I hate it. I'm going to keep calling it that, but it's not great. It's not a great pun, but we're going to go with it.
No, it's perfect. Love it.
Thank you. I think we could all use a little Uncle Iroh wisdom to take with us. And so our quote for this week is, "Pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame."
How forward.
Love it.
Amen.
It's perfect.
Very fitting.
Drop the mic. Thank you guys for being here. This was another great episode. Everyone watching, please be sure to leave your comments. I know you guys have to tear a few people up based on what you've heard today, so please leave us a comment, vote in the polls, and tune in next time for Four Nations Forum.